Hello there and welcome to my review of Forsaken, the DLC for Destiny 2. Now, I don't normally do intros to my game reviews, but if you're a Destiny fan like me, then this is a big deal because it's the biggest DLC we've had in Destiny 2. Until we get Destiny 3, this is really it. Like, it's make or break for Destiny 2. People are actually hoping that the Forsaken DLC will do for Destiny 2 what the Taken King DLC did for Destiny 1. And having played through the story, the campaign and the strikes, I can actually tell you that Bungie do deliver. Even if you weren't that impressed with the Osiris DLC or the Warmind DLC, it's hard not to be impressed with the Forsaken DLC. Now, one of my mates online, he got quite jaded with Destiny 2. It didn't really live up to his expectations, and there's lots of reasons behind that. And a lot of people felt that way, and he was saying to me that he wasn't going to buy the Forsaken DLC. He was adamant, but he did in the end. I knew he would because we all play the game. We all enjoy it. It's just sometimes people do get a bit frustrated with Bungie. People who are passionate about Destiny and want the game to be as good as it can be and want reasons to keep playing it, sometimes can feel that Destiny is not actually... Oh, that's my cat. Sometimes people feel... There's his tail. Oh boy. Say hello to the people. Yeah. Okay, well, he's after my tea now. Put over there. Now, yeah, some people got frustrated, and my mate was one of them. But even he is really enjoying the Forsaken DLC. And another mate of mine, Andy, we play like most evenings together. He felt it was make or break as well for Destiny, and he told me the other night that the Forsaken has actually far exceeded his expectations. I mean, we're into season 4 of Destiny 2 now, and people have been asking for a lot of changes to Destiny 2, and finally people are feeling that Bungie really are listening, and they have actually made some significant changes. And it feels like a step, it's almost like a step back, because a lot of the changes are kind of going back to how Destiny 1 used to be, which is what a lot of people are asking for. But even though in that way it's sort of a step back, it also feels like a step forward, because a lot of the changes that were made in Destiny 2, a lot of people, and to a certain degree myself included, felt were actually detrimental to the game. That making it the PVP for V4, I mean, it was an interesting idea, but the net result was that the PvP in Destiny just wasn't as much fun as Destiny 1. Like, Destiny 2 PvP was more about shooting down lanes, like in groups, team shooting. There wasn't as much scope to feel like a badass superhero. Like, you couldn't really rely on your abilities and your grenades to do a lot of damage. Even the Titan shoulder barge that used to be great fun in Destiny 1, and it did annoy people, but it was fun. Like, when you got a shoulder barge and literally destroyed someone, it was great fun. Now that they took that away in Destiny 2. With season 4, it's come back. You know, the shoulder barge is back. Also, weapon rolls on weapons. You used to be able to grind in Destiny 1 to get the exact weapon roll you wanted. That's back now in season 4 Destiny 2. So even if you don't buy the Forsaken, if you'd like Destiny, I definitely recommend you do buy it. But even if you don't buy it, just come back for season 4 just to see the changes they've made. The weapon slot changes are actually, I feel, a big improvement. That's the thing I didn't like about Destiny 2. They took the shotguns and the snipers and the fusion rifles and they put them all in the heavy slot, which just was restrictive. And it kind of, especially on PvP side of things, it literally took snipers and shotguns out of the game for PvP. I mean, heavy, there's only one heavy and only one person could get it at a time. So yeah, there was lots of changes like that. And also there was little things that needed addressing in Destiny 2. One of them was shader deletion. If you've played any amount of Destiny 2, you'll know what I'm talking about. Before you know it, you've got an inventory full of shaders, and as fast as you delete them, you get them back. And if you're a bit OCD, it can be like really, really annoying. And yeah, just group shader deletion. People were asking for it, and why? Sometimes you do feel that Bungie kind of drag their feet on certain things. And now in Season 4, you can actually delete 5 shaders at a time if you go to the crypt arc. But why just 5 shaders at a time? I mean, I used to code, so I know that you can write, you write a function to delete a shader, and as long as it's coded correctly, you can call that function as many times as you want. You should put it in a loop with a counter. You could even have that counter sort of, you could have a slider so people could say, I want to delete all my shaders or half of them, or, you know, it's not that difficult to do. And you kind of feel sometimes that Bungie, they take a step forward, it's like baby steps. It's like, well, just sort it out, you know, just give us proper shader deletion. I mean, just delete as many shaders as we want. I've never questioned Bungie's commitment to the game. I've heard someone say that, you know, well, a few people say, oh, Bungie are lazy, they're not putting in stuff quickly enough. And Bungie have made sort of excuses with Destiny 1. They were saying that their pipeline wasn't really geared up for making sort of iterative changes. That it took a long time to recompile the game, and their tools weren't really capable of getting changes in quickly. They did say in Destiny 2 that they had addressed that, and that Destiny 2 changes, it would be much easier for them to make quick changes. I'm not really convinced that's been the case. Like shader deletion is a good example. It's like, why is it taking so long for them to get round to addressing it? 5 shaders at a time. I mean, and also when you deleted a shader, it's like, oh, it was like 1 shader at a time. And some people have hundreds, like literally hundreds of these shaders, and deleting one at a time. And there was even a timer. You couldn't just delete them rapidly. You'd be like delete. You know, and you're probably wondering why is he going on about these shaders? Like, you want to hear about Forsaken, right? Well, I was just trying to put this into context, really. Why that this DLC is such a big deal for people, and why, if you've gone away from Destiny because of little things irritating you or big things irritating you, but you've gone away from Destiny, now Season 4 is a great time to come back because they have addressed most of these issues. Like, random rolls on weapons are back. So, and the strikes, like, you can actually go to or get a map up for a public space on the planet, and you can actually look and where the strikes are and select the strikes like you used to do in Destiny 1. So you can actually grind out the strikes for weapons for the best rolls, and then when you get a good roll, like in Destiny 1, you could say to your mates, check out this weapon, I've got a great roll on it, and you could go and use it. And also with Destiny 2, the exotics, especially the armour, it felt kind of diluted. They weren't as effective, the perks weren't as good as in Destiny 1. They kind of toned all that back a bit, and it made the exotic armour just feel not that exotic, really. And also there's certain other changes, like to the Crucible, where, you know, if you wanted to use certain abilities, you just pick and select what you wanted to use. You couldn't really, because the actual supers, the actual subclasses for the supers, they grouped all the abilities into 2 groups. You had like a top group of abilities and a bottom group, and you selected one or the other. You couldn't mix and match. So it kind of diluted. You used to be able to create like a synergy between your weapons and your armour and your abilities, and it's a fantasy sci-fi game, so the abilities should be important. But with Destiny 2, Bungie said they wanted to get back to it being more about the gunplay. But for me, if you just want gunplay, then any shooter can give you that. You know, Call of Duty can give you that. What was cool about Destiny was the fantasy element, the supers, and being able to use your grenades effectively and other abilities, and watching the cooldown on those abilities and using them skillfully. Destiny seemed to go away from that fantasy side of it. And for me, that's what made the game so distinct, especially like a Warlock. I mean, Warlocks are all supposed to be about their special abilities. And yet in Destiny 2, you threw a grenade and it seemed to do hardly any damage at all. In Destiny 1, like, you could snipe someone and take off half their health, and then say, if it was a hunter, throw some skips and finish them off, no problem. But in Destiny 2, you couldn't really do that. You didn't feel that you was that empowered as a Guardian. So yeah, those things have been addressed. The time to kill in the Crucible, that's been lowered. So you can now actually take on groups of enemy Guardians and get a few kills. Like, with sticky grenades in Destiny 1, you could you could have 2 sticky grenades, like sticky for you, 2 kills, they are dead, and then you could get out your sidearm, kill people. And that was just fun. Like, it just made the game enjoyable. And me and my mates would play Crucible into the early hours, you know, a group of 6 of us. And, you know, even going to 4v4 in Destiny 2, for me, it just didn't work. Like, you'd finish a raid, say a group of 6 of you, on reset, you do your raid, and then okay, let's finish the evening off doing some PvP, and then of course you've got to lose 2 people because there's only 4v4, and they've sort of given that back to us. Iron Banner's now 6v6. You'd actually dread going to the tower at the end of the evening because you knew your postmaster would be full of shaders and blue weapons, and you couldn't even delete them from the postmaster. You'd have to get them out the postmaster and then delete them. They fixed that now. You can delete things within the postmaster, and the vault as well. You used to get things out the vault to delete them. Now you can delete them in the vault. Simple little kind of like changes like that can actually make a big difference to the game, and it's made Destiny 2 a lot more enjoyable. So if you've kind of fell off the bandwagon, you stopped playing Destiny, you're looking to get back to it, this is the time to do it. Like, now is the time. Season 4, lots of really cool changes to the game, getting us back to where we were at Destiny 1. The game with the DLCs now as well, the game feels a lot more bigger. Like, that was the thing about Destiny 1, is it had lots of years of content added to it. And so when Destiny 2 came out, after players had that initial rush of all that new content, it then felt actually like kind of bare bones of a game. Like, it didn't feel as fleshed out as Destiny 1 did, because it felt like going back to the early days of Destiny 1, before they added all the raids and all the extra content and all the DLC. So I kind of understood why a lot of people stopped playing Destiny 2. All my friends on my friend list are Destiny 2. A lot of them sort of drifted away, started playing other games. And to a certain extent that was true of myself as well. I haven't played as much Destiny 2 as I did Destiny 1, especially on the Crucible side of things. I might have spent thousands of hours literally playing Destiny 1. I haven't spent as much time as on Destiny 2. I've still been playing, I've still bought the DLC, still been playing them. But yeah, we was all kind of waiting and hoping that the Forsaken would address all the issues we have and give us a nice big chunk of content. It is DLC. It's not like a full game. It's not like they've given us that much content. I mean, it's a big DLC, but it's still a DLC. You do kind of pay a premium for what you're getting, but it's £35 for the base DLC. If you want to get the annual pass as well, then that works out £60. So you have to pay £25 for the annual pass. If you can buy the annual pass later on, I think it's like £30. So you kind of lose out on like £5 or whatever. But if you take, there's going to be, for the annual pass, there's going to be 3 content drops. So if you take £25 divided by 3, well, if you pay £30 to buy it later on, it's like £10 per content drop over the course of a year. So it's not so bad. But then it depends what we get for that content drop. But for now, we have the base content, of the Forsaken, and it is substantial. There's a lot of story missions. You've got new strikes to play, and I will, word of warning now, I will be showing footage from that content. I'll just give you an idea of the sort of environment you're going to be playing in and the level of detail in the environments. Also, I will be getting into the story. I will be don't want to be any spoilers, but I will be discussing what's been shown in the trailers. Okay, so here's some game footage for you to have a look at.
Now, Cade being shot does seem a bit extreme. I know that Bungie really wanted to try and create a great hook for the story that really sucked you in and got you involved, because a lot of people have said that the story isn't that great. Personally, I've been quite happy with the stories, and I actually thought they're quite inventive. If you look at the Osiris DLC with all the time warping, Vex tech, that's pretty cool, I think. And also with the War Mine, finding out more about Rasputin, I really enjoyed that, and that was really quite interesting. They don't really go in depth in their story, but there is a lot of lore behind the game that you can get into. But this time around, it is a bit more of a simple revenge story. And when I saw the trailer and I saw Cade getting shot by Aldrin the Prince, I wasn't that affected by it. But when I actually played the campaign, and it's quite early on that Cade gets shot, I actually felt quite emotional. I actually welled up a bit, which quite surprised me. So that shows that Bungie were right, really. They did do a good job, because if you get emotional, then obviously the storyline is affecting you. And then I really did feel like I was invested and I wanted to sort of get revenge. And Savala, who's in charge of the tower and the vanguard, he's sort of against going straight after him. He's saying we should look after the tower. Well, here's a little clip of Savala, and you can hear a bit of the voice acting.
We've got every available guardian dealing with escapees from the prison of elders. It's still not enough. If you go to war with the Reef, it's a war you will have to fight alone. The Vanguard cannot help you.
So as you heard, really you're kind of on your own. And that's typical of campaigns in the DLC, or campaigns in Destiny in general. It's really all about you as being sort of like the hero of the moment, and feeling like, you know, everyone's saying how wonderful you are, what great guardian you are. It's, you know, yeah, it kind of works though. It does make you feel badass in the game, even though everyone kind of sucks up to you, says what wonderful you are. But then I suppose that is that what people want in life, to be told, you know, how great they are and that feel like you really matter. Now, Akora Ray, she's all for getting revenge and chasing down Uldren the Prince. It did seem a bit hazy to me as to why Uldren killed Cade. Why did Uldren turn up at the prison? Is he just freeing the Barons? Why is he freeing the Barons? He teams up with them, so obviously he needs them to help him do what he's doing. Obviously I won't get into that. But yeah, it all seems a bit hazy as to why he's there, what his true motivation is for killing Cade. I never really felt that that was really sort of explained. I suppose if you're into the lore, read up all that sort of stuff, you have more of an idea. But the average person, I think, is going to be a bit unsure about Uldren's real motivations. Now, Pet Revenge is like your sidekick in the DLC. Most DLCs, and even the main campaigns, you normally have a sidekick. This time around it's Pet Revenge, and I was really pleased about that because I liked her in the Reef. I thought she was a great character. She's got like an eye patch and a knife. She's really badass, and she has some nice scenes with Cade at the start of the campaign. He's one of the scenes that I quite enjoyed.
Petra Venge. Thanks for the invite. What you packing for this party?
The usual.
Oh, do the thing! Seriously, watch this. That'll never not freak me out. Do it again.
Later.
Now, there are some new enemy types. They are Fallen, but they're the Scorn, and they're kind of like a faction of the Fallen, and they're really cool actually. The designs are really good and distinct. There's enemies that have fire that they fling around everywhere, and there's enemies with shields. There's enemies that scamper around and explode, very much like the Cursed Thrall. This time around you really do feel like you're fighting actual new types of enemies, and the Barons themselves are really distinct as well. Okay, here's a little CGI sequence showing the different Barons and how kind of distinct they are, and yeah, this might get you excited for fighting.
Well, you really showed them, didn't you? Piece of advice, eh? Know your enemy before you deal with them. Rexisvon, the hangman. A silent sadist, used to dock the arms of dregs with his bare hands. Cannix, the mad bomber, emphasis on mad. Demolitions expert with an irritating way about him. The trickster, Araskis, a liar and a schemer. Friendly advice, trust nothing she touches. Hyrax, the mind bender, has a rep for manipulation, has a morbid obsession with the hive. Yavix, aka the Rider, leader of a bombastic gang of pike-riding heathens. They sow chaos everywhere they ride. The rifleman, Pirha, the only fallen alive who can make the shot that mortalized Cade 6. Elikris, the verge of soulless descent. This one sits atop a trove of tech, heavy armament stolen from me. The fanatic himself, Fikrul, the leader of the Barons, and the first of the Scorn. His dark magic has no place on my shore. No place. Last, and most certainly least, Aldrin Sov, traitor to his people, and the man who pulled the trigger. He may be in the wind, but his barons are ripe for the picking. Divide, conquer, isolate Aldrin. He'll wind up at your feet, and all you have to do is pull the trigger.
There's 8 barons to fight, and they're all really good adventures. They make up a big chunk of the campaign. The map for the Tangled Shore, which is the public space, or the main public space you'll be playing in, it's a decent size. It doesn't show the actual full extent of the play area, because when you go on the adventures, you actually go way off the edges of the map in all different directions. It's actually a lot bigger than it looks. Now, the first couple of missions are about the prisoner elders. There's an outbreak of prisoners. Aldrin has broken out the barons and really looks amazing. Those first 2 missions look fantastic. There's all these prison cells, and they open up and all the enemies come out of the cells, and it's all new stuff. You can say what you want about Destiny, but it does look amazing, and Bungie definitely upped their game with this DLC. The whole DLC looks amazing graphically. It's just superb. Concept work, all the different areas, they're all beautifully detailed with really interesting things to look at. Even the Tangled Shore itself is quite a big area, and there's just interesting buildings and machinery and architecture everywhere. And as I said, it's beautifully sort of conceptualized, and all the modeling and rendering is superb. In fact, the game engine is incredibly impressive. They definitely improved it over Destiny 1, and then really are making the most of it in Destiny 2. All the particle effects, you get sort of mist and really nice lighting effects, volumetric type lighting effects. Now, I am playing it on the PlayStation 4 Pro, but it does look just as good on the normal PlayStation. Now, if you're an experienced Guardian, I definitely recommend that you tackle the missions early on. Like, don't just sort of level up before you do the missions. As I hit those power levels, I then did those missions so that they actually were more challenging. Now, I would say don't bother actually leveling up gear that you get. Just use the blue stuff, like use the blue weapons and the blue armor. As you're given new blue armor and weapons, just put that stuff on, and once you get to sort of level 500, that's where it levels out. You don't get blue weapons and armor above 500. Then you can start grinding for the purple power gear. You will find that getting to level 600, which is the max power level, will take you a long time. That's going to be a real grind, but an enjoyable grind. Now, the CGI is excellent. If you've seen the trailers for the game, you would have seen the Dreaming City trailer, and you would have seen obviously when Cade gets shot, and the action sequences are excellent. They're beautifully edited, the lighting's fantastic, but they actually blend in quite well with the actual real-time footage in the game engine. So when you go from the CGI sequences in the campaign into the actual game engine, it isn't too jarring. They do actually blend together quite well. I actually feel that a lot of people won't even realise the difference between the CGI sequences and the actual in-game rendered, like real-time rendered sequences, which I feel is really good because that really keeps you immersed in the game. And the CGI sequences, as good as they are, they're not too long and there's not too many of them, so you don't feel as though the control in the game is being wrestled away from you too much. I want to actually be able to play the game. I like a story in the game and I like good characters, but I don't want that to overshadow the actual gameplay. And playing the game should be an interactive experience, not just a passive experience where you're just sitting there watching CGI sequences. They are fantastic, but most people, once they've watched them once, tend to just skip over them. So that's not really what keeps you playing Destiny again and again. The Tangled Shore in the Reef is sort of the first public space, and it's a good size. But there is a second public space which is the Dreaming City, and that absolutely looks amazing. Again, Bungie have excelled themselves. It's detailed, full of fantastic architecture. Kind of reminded me of Lord of the Rings, but yeah, that's more kind of for the end game content. Now in the Tangled Shore, there's loads to do. Spider has loads of bounties. There's new public events that you can do. I like the one where you can actually freeze the enemies and they get teleported back to the prison. It's good to have new public events to experience. That's what really first drew me into Destiny. I remember the Spider Tank public event in Destiny 1, and I remember playing that for the first time and realising that other Guardians, real people, were running around in the same space, the same game space, and we could actually team up to take down the Spider Tank. That's really what hooked me into Destiny, got me into it. Now, exposure in the game, it's like a new type of weapon. I was a bit hesitant. I did think, well, are they going to be any good? I suppose, how are they going to feel? Well, the one thing Bungie always does well is the weapon handling, the gunplay, and they've implemented the bow into the game perfectly. It feels great to use. It's even fun in PvP to use. They've done an amazing job and they look fantastic. Like, here's a look at one of the bows in the game, and you get that sort of quite early on in the campaign, and yeah, it's great fun to use. Now with regard to the subclasses for the different Guardians, we do get a new super for each Guardian with a new subclass. So now you have the top group of abilities for your subclass and the bottom group of abilities, and also a third sort of middle group of abilities. I've only played as a hunter so far, but the new super I quite enjoyed, and the super for the Titan and the Warlock look really good as well. Now I can't actually talk about the new Crucible maps at this point because at the time of making this video they're not available, and also the raid is not available as well. But if the quality of the content we've had so far is anything to go by, the raid is going to be amazing. And Bungie normally always deliver when it comes to the raids. There's nothing like them. Tackling a new raid for the first time is always an amazing experience when you're playing with your mates online. They're actually promising that this is the biggest raid ever. And Bungie have done some big raids, so that sounds really impressive. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But I think this DLC is worth buying even without the raid. So if you're not into raiding, a lot of people aren't, then yeah, it's still worth buying. But if you are into raiding like I am, well, I think we're going to be in for a real treat. Now the Dreaming City is the public space sort of for the end game. It's when you're sort of max level, you can go there and do activities and bounties. Petrovenge, she's there and she will hand them out to you. I can't really fully review that either because there's going to be a lot of secrets that are unlocked in the Dreaming City as time goes on. So it's going to be an evolving public space. But even at the moment, it's fantastic and there's loads to do and it just looks really cool. And a lot of the areas are really intriguing because you don't really know what's going to happen there, but it's obvious that there's certain areas where there is going to be stuff happening later on. So that's going to give us even more value out of this DLC. And I'm really looking forward to what actually they're going to do in the Dreaming City. Gambit is a really interesting addition as well. It's part of the DLC and it's kind of like a PvP PVE event. It's quite distinct and I like to see Bungie putting in something new. I think the original Prison of Elders, which is kind of like a horde mode activity in Destiny 1, it was unique and different. Probably would have preferred a raid, but still it was kind of refreshing to have something different. And here again, Bungie are trying to give us something unique, and it does feel unique when you're playing it. You kind of run around in an arena, there's two teams, each team has their own arena, and as you kill enemies that are in the arena, just normal sort of PvE enemies, you get tokens and you can bank those tokens. And if you bank certain amounts of tokens, you can actually send blockers into the other team's arena. to hinder them, so they can't actually bank anything. I think it's you bank 5 tokens, you send a sort of small blocker, 15 tokens is like a big blocker, sorry, 10 tokens is a medium blocker. So yeah, you can actually interfere with the other team and actually even send people across. There's a teleporter that sometimes activates and you can send one of your people across to actually kill them. So if you're not really a good PvP player, you don't have to go through the teleporter. You could just stick to doing the PVE side of it and just killing things and getting tokens. So yeah, it kind of brings the world of PvE and PvP together in an interesting way. And I quite enjoyed it. I don't think I'll be playing a lot of it. Now, to win a round, you have to kill a big boss that spawns once you've banked enough tokens. It's called the Primeval. And once you kill your Primeval, you win that round. But players from the other team can come into your world and kill you, and actually gives life back to your Primeval. So yeah, they can stop you from killing him or slow down the process of you killing him. So yeah, there's lots of interesting mechanics, and I'm going to play it and I am enjoying it, so we will see how that works out. Now, so I was walking around in the Tangled Shore and sort of just taking it all in, I found this pod. It's obviously one of the prison pods. I couldn't resist going in and having a look. And I also came across this little camp, and you can even go in the tent and you can see the tent actually flapping in the wind. As I say, that the actual effects and the environmental effects in the game look really, really cool. And you may have noticed in the intro to this review that I've got some backgrounds that are actually taken from the Dreaming City, and you can see foliage actual blowing in the wind and all the little particle effects. And also you can see the quality of the architecture in the Dreaming City, how beautifully constructed it is. Destiny is a type of game where even though you play it time and time again, you go into the same areas time and time again, you often see things that you've not seen before because they are so full of detail. A lot of the time people will say, oh, they've added something, and you're like, well no, you just haven't noticed that before. Because people are so busy shooting stuff, they don't always take in everything that's there. Now, as I said in the intro, you can do the strikes whenever you want, but you have to kind of unlock them when you pull up the map for the Tangled Shore. You can see that there's some strikes there that I've unlocked, and I suggest doing those because the first ones you unlocked are at level 400 or power level 400. So I do recommend doing those straight away as soon as you are power level 400 to make them more of a challenge. You don't want them to be too easy, you don't want to be overpowered. And you can actually see on the map here the actual orange symbols, and they're the adventures. You can do them in any order you want, but again I suggest that you do them as you sort of get up to a certain power level where you can tackle the adventure. I would do them so straight away, again, just to keep the challenge there. Now, on the main destination map where you see the planets, there are little yellow circles by the planets and the destinations, and those represent the fact that there are daily and weekly challenges for you to do where you can get power gear, and this is how you get from level 500 to level 600. And if you want to be raid ready, I suggest you make the most of those power level engrams and do your weeklies and dailies as quickly as you can. Now, there are 4 new strikes. One of them is exclusive to the PlayStation 4 for a limited time period, but my favourite strike is Warden of Nothing, and that isn't the exclusive, which is nice for Xbox owners. And I really, really enjoyed it. The start of the strike is just fantastic.
Literally all my mates on my friends list are from playing Destiny, and literally all of them have told me they're really enjoying the Forsaken and it has lived up to their expectations. So yeah, give it a go. Okay, thank you for watching. If it's been helpful, please drop me a like, and goodbye.